Hey, good morning, everyone. Muralidhara here.
Hi, Murali. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Yeah, I think we should get started now, Lakshna.
Yeah, okay. Let me start by sharing my screen. Good morning, everybody, and a warm welcome to the SAP India use CPG SIG, the first meeting for 2023. We are privileged to have you here with us today. As you are aware, the CPG SIG is a special interest group of SAP users where we want to facilitate facilitate a community of practitioners, customers, companies who have adopted SAP and are using SAP technology to drive business benefits and drive business impact and drive measurable business outcomes. This community is also to ensure that we provide a platform where we can all share our experiences. You as our customers share your experience, both the good and the bad, right? And we also provide an environment for us to learn from each other. And we as SAP are also able to give you a directional perspective in terms of how we see the industry evolving globally and in the Indian context. What are some of the evolution in business processes that technology is driving? How that is going to determine the trajectory of this industry going forward, and what we as SAP are doing as the leading partner for the largest and the most innovative FMCG companies to drive their strategy of delighting their end consumers, right? So with that context setting, let me move forward. So over the next 10 to 15 minutes, I just wanted to set the context for today's, the first SIG meeting. So I will start by talking a little bit about how we see the consumer industry here in India. What are some of the strategic imperatives of the CPG companies operating in this space. This will be followed by Sunny Neely, who will talk about how we can drive sales and marketing excellence in this industry and how we are partnering with SAP customers in driving that. Post Sunny's session, and Sunny is joining us from the United States. So thank you so much, Sunny, for being here today with us. After Sunny's session, we will let him go. And then we will hear from Madhav Nishtala, who leads industry cloud for the consumer industries here in APJ. And Madhav is going to talk about how industry cloud, the solutions in the industry cloud portfolio are really pushing the innovation benchmark and agenda forward. How we are addressing niche consumer industry related areas through the industry cloud solutions that we are building, not just within SAP, but also in collaboration with our partners and most importantly, our customers. This will be followed again by me talking a little bit about sustainability. While I say that we will talk a little bit, but perhaps in some future sessions, we would like to really delve deep into the sustainability topic because, that is top of mind for most FMCG companies today, whether it is in terms of looking at materiality, looking at risk, looking at stakeholder engagement across the industry. Sustainability is a theme that is really going to drive how this entire industry shapes up in future. After that, I'll hand it back to Mukesh, who is going to take us through some of the collaboration tools that we have available with us to better engage with each other as a community and really facilitate our ideas, knowledge, and information sharing with each other. So with that context setting, let me talk a little bit about how we see the FMCG industry. Now, of course, it is one of the biggest, sustainable business opportunity that the country offers. It is the fourth largest in terms of GDP contribution, and there is a huge potential for growth because the per capita FMCG consumption is very low in India if you look at global benchmarks. And while many of the leading CPG companies have posted double-digit revenue and profit growth, driven by a lot of measures years, which we will talk about, the industry is growing at a steady clip in terms of the 7 to 9% forecasted growth range over the next 1 to 2 years. However, the recent challenging environment globally has had an impact in terms of the demand and the rising inflation. So we are seeing unprecedented price rise for some of the commodities, which are at their all-time historic highs. Also, in terms of extreme weather events are impacting both the farming patterns and also the logistics and delivery related challenges. And this is all leading to households tightening their budgets, adjusting volumes. And while premiumization is a trend that is driving a lot of brands and customers' product strategies, but this is definitely impacting demand. And most companies have to always vary their pack sizes, given that in these scenarios of high inflation, most customers tend to look at smaller pack sizes. And also, while rural markets or tier 2, tier 3 markets have been a key growth driver for most FMCG companies in India today, but there has been a marked slowdown in rural demand. So these are some of the challenges that we have experienced in the past financial year, but we're already seeing some shoots of things turning around when we look at the first 2 quarters of this year, which is 2023, right? So let's hope that inflation is controlled given the interest tightening policies of central banks. And also, demand is back as we look at the 2 better quarters of the 2 remaining quarters of 2023. If I look at some of the bigger trends that are going to shape the industry, one, of course, is the speed at which established FMCG brands are embracing digital, and also as the D2C and the digital native brands continuing to thrive. This is primarily driven by hyperconnected consumers who now do their own research before making any of their purchase decisions. And also the themes that are driving consumer preferences continue to be health, well-being, sustainability, and brands that operate with a purpose. Going now a little bit deeper into some of the industry drivers. So when we talk about digital transformation and especially established FMCG companies adopting digital, some of the primary areas where they have adopted digital are defined here. So the first area is definitely adopting a digital commerce path or becoming the providing digital solutions to consumers regarding their paths to purchase. Now, from a consumer expectation perspective, they are moving seamlessly between the omni-channel experience, moving between online and offline channels, right? So this is going to continue to drive the core of consumer experience, is how seamless we make this experience between online and offline. How are we able to identify them and continue to offer them a personalized experience irrespective of which channel they are engaging with the brand on. Similarly, traditional trade players, especially the GT and the Kirana stores, are also reinventing their businesses. They are also engaging with FMCG companies increasingly through digital servicing channels. And this is a win-win both for the FMCG players and the GT operators as well. Also, the government's ONDC network is really democratizing digital commerce. Most of the leading FMCG players are already available on the ONDC platform. And we are seeing continued momentum in terms of ONDC framework adoption. The other key area around the paths to purchase is the modern trade expansion of categories and getting into areas such as pharma, beauty, wellness. So these are new categories that even the modern trade players are getting into. We already spoke about the demographic bit in the earlier slide, but some of the continuing factors continue to be rising affluence, a large working class population, nuclear family structures, more urbanization, etc. So given this, most of the FMCG players are actually investing in building categories of the future, focusing on ensuring superior products, quality of the products. and ensuring they are available at the right price value equation. In terms of innovation, companies are investing in early trend spotting, digital prototyping, and Mukesh, can you just mute that participant, please? Yes. Innovation in terms of early trend spotting, digital prototyping and deployment, and reducing the time from ideation to launch. And of course, reaching out to many more customers, expanding footprint across existing and newer markets continue to be some of the areas of investment for both established and new brands. Supply chain will continue to be a differentiator, ensuring agility, driving more resilience in the supply chain, and making manufacturing more future fit. What does that mean? Making manufacturing more closer to consumers so that one, we are able to reduce the footprint, making manufacturing more automated, right? So that we are, we are able to again reduce the carbon footprint across the value chain and driving more efficiency along the distribution network. So these are again the strategic drivers for the industry. What does that mean? This means that companies must now operate along three dimensions. They need to balance the top line, which is drive revenue growth through newer business models, serving customers better, continuing to serve new markets, acquire footprint in expand market share in existing markets. So those are all the top line drivers. Bottom line, definitely manufacturing and supply chain efficiency, ensuring that there is a lot of internally within the organization digitally skilled workforce who can make sense of not just the consumer data that is streaming in, but also mesh that with the operational data to drive further excellence in their operation. And of course, Greenland continues to be the foundation that is going to drive both the top line and bottom line growth. Right. So with that, I'll move forward. So this from an end-to-end digital enablement perspective, right? What does the intelligent enterprise and CPG retail mean? It serves connected consumers. And this is actually a positive feedback loop, which starts from consumer insight, where either it is an identified customer or it is just a consumer who is just engaging with the brand and doing some research, to leveraging these insights to drive rapid R&D, making customer communication relevant, personalized, contextualized, driving seamless omni-channel customer engagement, orchestrating the omni-channel customer buying journey, capturing experience and feedback along every step of the value chain. So this, in a nutshell, is what we are seeing in terms of the connected consumer experience. From a connected store and agile operation perspective, again, this continues to be a loop. Agile operations requires end-to-end planning, both long-term and short-term. It includes material and production planning and logistics planning. Then this needs to be aligned with the sourcing, whether it is raw material sourcing or sourcing from contract manufacturing companies, actually doing the production and delivering and servicing customers right down to the hyper-local experience management level, right? So, and from a connected stores or connecting the consumers with the company's operations perspective, being able to sense and capture demand along with seasonality, micro demographical trends, being able to fulfill that demand is going to drive the brand experience for the future, right? So this is how we define the connected intelligent enterprise from a CPG retail perspective. And this is what we as SAP intend to enable from our vision. We as a technology partner for consumer companies want to make them run as intelligent enterprises, delighting their end consumers and customers, make digital transformation simple and easy to adopt, and of course, build sustainability into every single piece of the value chain. Now, this is a slide which has got great content, but what are some of the things that I wanted to talk about here? So, from the traditional value chain perspective, we as SAP have been doing this, for years and have very deep and rich capabilities, right from the innovation R&D areas where we do not just portfolio management and idea management, but also recipe management. And then, the pilot runs and manufacturing handover. A lot of companies are actually evolving their sourcing practices to cut out middlemen. So how can we source directly from the farm gate? That will help drive a positive value chain between the FMCG companies and also benefit the farmers, drive next generation practices such as collaboration, intelligent agriculture, better, better traceability from in terms of where the goods have been sourced from, and better understanding of the carbon footprint across the value chain. Right. So this is how this is emerging. From a manufacturing perspective, how do we enable more automation in the manufacturing operations? How are we able to predict the quality of the batches? How are we able to run more sustainably by cutting out operational inefficiencies? How are we able to collaborate through asset networks that span not just the FMCG company, but also equipment providers? How are we able to run smart factories, even light out factories, right? And move more from batch-oriented manufacturing to more process manufacturing, and do the basic stuff really well, which is production planning, manufacturing execution, and routine quality control and quality assurance activities. A supply chain perspective, we have always enabled things like sales and operations planning available to promise. Increasingly, we are investing a lot in delivering supply chain analytics, also looking at touchless supply chains. How can we manage dynamic distribution networks, make demand planning based on demand signals that are emerging real time in the value chain. I'll not talk a lot about sales and marketing because Sunny will cover that. From a sourcing and procurement perspective, how can we manufacture smaller lot sizes? How can we collaborate with our vendors better and earlier in the value chain, so that we are again able to bring in more efficiencies in the R&D process itself, right? So those are again some of the focus areas. From a finance perspective, of course, how do we look at digital? How do we look at billing and subscription-based business models? How do we look at driving ROI from product development initiatives, which are becoming faster and more number of new products are being launched? How do we manage trade promotions and drive ROI from a marketing spend better? How do we ensure that the planning is more end-to-end collaborative and we are tracking everything against the annual operating plan? So from a finance perspective, these are all the important areas. And from an HR perspective, we continue to invest in terms of total workforce management, skill-based workforce planning and analytics, and driving learning across the entire end-to-end employee life cycle across in the organization, and making the technology completely touchless, much more intuitive and easy to engage with. So this is the overall SAP value proposition and the way we are looking at business processes. And this is in terms of the SAP overall product strategy, right? If I were to look at that, everything is centered around the business technology platform. And of course, as you saw detailed out in the previous slide, we have the spend and business network running and extending the capability of the ERP. We have this customer experience management solutions, and we have the human or employee experience management solutions. And the business technology platform is actually becoming stronger in terms of the app development capabilities through which we deliver process automation, low-code, no-code programming environment. Integration continues to be strengthened in terms of getting more and more APIs available, and also strengthening our event-based integration capabilities. Data and analytics from the perspective of giving you a distributed cloud-based enterprise data warehouse management solution, building on the analytics and planning capabilities. And of course, intelligent technologies in terms of, bringing you the best in class of AI. And this is going to be a very, very big investment area for SAP in terms of bringing in a lot of AI models that are seamlessly built into these end-to-end business processes, continuing to make processes more intelligent, and investing in security and persistence of data and process in a decentralized environment. And this helps us in terms of achieving the 3 outcomes that we spoke about, which is top line, bottom line, and green line, right? So with that, I would like to stop here, and I would like to hand it over to Sunny to dive deeper into the sales, marketing, and customer experience excellence areas.
All right. Thank you, Selection. Let me share my screen here. Bear with me for 1 second. And are you all able to, let me just put this in presentation mode. All right, are you guys able to see my screen?
We see the screen in two slides. Yeah, I'll have to-
Okay, how
You're
about
actually seeing
how-
the, yeah.
now? Is it
Can you
okay?
yeah, now it's
Perfect.
okay. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, just a quick introduction. I want to keep this to 20 minutes. So my name is Sunny Neely. I'm with the Consumer Products Industry Business Unit. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia, in the US. The industry business unit obviously is here to help support in any way we can the consumer products industry. I myself worked for Coca-Cola for several years in brand management and also for Ferrero. So I'm a kind of a practitioner first and maybe a technologist second. But love coming at this from the perspective of the end user. And so that's what I'll try to talk about today as we talk about intelligent sales and marketing. So just a little bit, I think Sudhakshina did a great job giving an overview of the industry. I just wanted to quickly talk about what I think are important aspects to what makes consumer products really unique. As she mentioned, it's a huge industry with huge brands. One point I really wanted to hit on, which I think is going to be relevant for the presentation that I'm giving today, is the importance of the trade and marketing spend. This is something that other industries really don't have. Certainly you have a marketing spend. In many cases, that can be up to 10% of your revenue. So if you're a huge company, that can quickly run into the tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. But in consumer products, we've also got this trade promotion management spend, which is even bigger. In many cases, this can be 25% of your revenue. So, and it's really what you have to pay to your retailers, and just we're talking about primarily the modern trade, large stores. But you have to pay this to retailers just for the right to be able to sell your product on their shelves. That's including the slotting fees and everything that you need to get your product to the stores, but also those promotions that you might make. Whenever you see a discount or a buy one, get one free at a store, that the consumer products company had to make a significant investment to make that promotion possible. So that, if you think about 25% plus the 10% for advertising, all of a sudden, these companies have a massive investment that they're really required to make in order to be competitive, just in sales and marketing. And managing that is a huge burden for brand managers on the marketing side and for trade promotion managers on the sales side. So it's a complex exercise, particularly when you're talking about modern trade. But there are a lot of areas where traditional trade, the smaller stores, are going to have to shoulder that investment and shoulder that management as well. So just thinking, if you will, with me about how these two stakeholders, the brand manager, the marketer, who's in charge of building the brand, driving the advertising, and the trade promotion manager, who's in charge of that relationship with the retailers, driving that investment, all that trade promotion spending that they're doing. What are some of the challenges they face? Well, it's very complicated. I think when I look over on the marketing side, there's not a lot of certainty. You're always wondering whether that digital spend is optimized. You're wondering about how you're managing the data that you use to track the effectiveness of your marketing. You need to think about digital commerce, and where are you going to find your growth, through these digital channels that are emerging all the time. And your new product development process is probably out of date and ineffective. On the trade side, you're doing a lot of this manually. I think the more that you can automate your trade promotion process, the better you can optimize it. It's becoming more and more dynamic. Do you have the tools in place? Do you have the processes in place to manage it effectively? Because it's really hard to know whether it's not just a matter of doing what everyone else is doing and providing discounts to the store. How often should you discount? How deeply should you discount? What's the way that you can optimize this massive spend that you're putting out there? And how are you able to actually drive a consensus cross-departmentally within your organization? Are you gathering data that's going to be able to effectively inform the supply chain and the marketing department, so you can gather a consensus not just on the consumer interest, but the demand and the supply that you need to provide within your organization? So there's all these different questions that need to be answered, both from the marketing and the trade organization. And then you've got emerging trends like retail media. Many of the large modern trade customers are now becoming media organizations and offering advertising that you have to purchase as part of your agreement with them. So the ownership of that retail media is kind of falling between trade and marketing. So there's a lot of challenges that need to be addressed in this organization, in this industry. And I think it's an exciting time for SAP to help provide that single source of truth and provide that organizational layer to help these organizations function more effectively. So there are a lot of trends. I think Sudhakshina did a great job here discussing how the industry is changing. Consumers are becoming, we need more personalization. They're going to be changing spending based on changing dynamics in the market, like the recession or the fear of recession, or the pandemic and moving out of the pandemic. Channels are changing. There's a move to e-commerce, of course. Maybe not as dramatic as it was before, but certainly a continued move to e-commerce and different types of channels that will change as the market continues in fluctuations. There's cost pressure. This is something I think people say, well, what does that really have to do with with marketing and sales? We see a lot of customers putting off marketing and sales modernization because they're facing so much cost pressure on their supply side. The rising inflation, the driving up of cost of goods sold, the supply chain costs because of disruptions. So this is another factor to keep in mind. And when you're thinking about how you can help modernize sales and marketing, think about how you can also drive down costs, drive more efficiency, more transparency within sales and marketing, knowing the types of cost pressure these organizations are under. And finally, think about the long term. The nice thing about SAP is we do have these long-term relationships with these customers. They want what we call sustainable value. So when things are good, they want that flexibility, that agility to be able to respond quickly to market opportunities. When things are bad, they need the transparency to better optimize the spend they're making. Again, if 35% of their revenue has got to go to sales and marketing expenses in this industry, they've got to be able to optimize it. And that's why I think all of these companies, Coca-Cola, Henkel, L'Oreal, we're seeing the same kind of message. They want this sustainable profitability that they can maintain through good and difficult times. So how are we helping these companies? I mean, why is SAP even in this organization? I think some people think of SAP as a back office company. Sometimes when we're talking to sales and marketing organizations, they say, well, how does SAP even play here? I mean, the answer is it's like the best kept secret. SAP has a magnificent presence in almost all the large consumer products companies in the world. It's because of that we're able to bring best practices, bring very proven methods and processes that have been, as I said, played out in so many large corporations, especially in food, beverage, athletic footwear. So it's an exciting place to be, exciting place to be able to share those learnings. And I just wanted to show one other thing here real quick. I won't go into too much detail. Let's see if I can get this. This is just an illustration of the kinds of services that SAP can offer. This is a dynamic tool that shows our presence within the consumer products industry. Based on the digital core, which of course is S4 or ECC, our ERP capability, we have all these different capabilities in every different department. So if we're going to talk about sales and marketing today, thinking about the meta process of promote to cash, all these different types of capabilities, and you can drill down in this tool. I won't go too deep here if it'll just show, but each different segment has basically the full range of capabilities you can need, from marketing planning to consumer engagement to commerce, account engagement. Every different functional need is met through SAP or through its partner ecosystem. And particularly in sales and marketing, we have a fantastic offering. This is a tool that we can make available as you're in the selling process to help explain the breadth of SAP's capabilities. It can be difficult, I think, within slides to show it. And the nice thing about this tool is you can also drill down flexibly, based on a customer's interest. But let me get back to the presentation. I just wanted to kind of show that quickly to help illustrate the breadth of the capabilities within the consumer products industry. So going back to my PowerPoint, let me fix my display settings one more time, and then we'll keep moving here. All right, so as I mentioned, SAP is in a great position to help out here. This is, again, kind of supporting what Sudhakshina had said earlier. There's a constant pressure to balance these three things. your core business. So in that case, in many cases, that's going to be the modern trade or whatever your core business model that you have in this industry, but constantly developing and implementing new business models. That's what we'll talk about a little bit today, because I think that's where a lot of the growth is going to come. And of course, balancing that with sustainability in as many different ways as you can. So let's talk about what it means. Okay, certainly you've got some balancing to do, but it's a difficult balance in this industry because there's so many different routes to market. Whether it's modern trade, traditional trade, food service. Obviously, you get into digital. You've got online, digital B2B. You've got marketplaces, D2C, storefronts. It's a lot of different routes to market that you have to serve. And in many cases, you'll need to be in all of those, but some may need more priorities than other. I think it's critical to understand this if you're trying to understand the pain points of your customer and understand where SAP can help, because we could certainly have solutions in all these areas. We can simplify this for customers, but helping understand which route to market are their priorities is a good way to get to the pain points that you can help them solve. I think another thing that's really important to understand is that while all the energy, I think a lot of people are talking about commerce, they're talking about D2C, they're talking about digital routes to market. That's certainly where so much of the growth is, but in many cases, the modern trade is where a lot of the volume is. So this is still an emerging part of it. It is growing very quickly. And I think one of the places we're seeing growth that a lot of people don't realize is in B2B commerce. It's not just in these D2C storefronts where people are buying, the brands.com, but it's in those B2B opportunities. And I think for a market like India, for a lot of emerging markets where the traditional trade, all these millions of mom and pop stores and food service outlets, this is a really exciting area where you can optimize the route to market through B2B commerce. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So I will cover two areas today quickly. Digital commerce is one opportunity, and sales excellence. The capabilities that we've got in digital commerce, marketing, budget planning, unified consumer profile, omni-channel order management, after sales excellence. And then in sales, we're going to talk a little bit about the one-stop shop B2B portal, and revenue growth management, which is our capability for managing that massive trade promotion spend. So a little bit about commerce in general, about digital commerce. As I said, this is a great area. It may not be a huge part of the volume these companies are working on right now, but it's going to grow. In fact, we see a lot of the companies. We're doing a lot of co-innovation workshops with some of the largest CPG companies right now in this space. And what we're hearing from them is they're targeting 25% of revenue or more, which will be driven through commerce, not D2C storefront commerce per se. It's probably going to be more marketplaces, so your Amazons, your Alibaba, and also B2B commerce, which, as I said, would be going to some of those smaller stores that are going to be ordering through B2B commerce as opposed to EDI. So interesting opportunity when you think about commerce in three parts. That's D2C storefronts, marketplaces, and also B2B, and how you can deliver on all three of those kind of channels to market, because there are a lot of similarities. What's happening really in general is we think about it in terms of the 4 Ps. There's some changes that are happening from the traditional way of working to the new operating model. On the product side, you're going from these very large transactions to value-based, very small, small individual transactions, from pallets down to eaches that are going to these end consumers. Pricing is negotiated much more frequently, much more dynamically. Place, that's distribution. Obviously, it's changing from a B2B sale where you're sending, a CPG company is sending to a distribution center, to the final mile where you're sending all the way to the individual consumer or maybe to small stores. So the distribution model is changing, and promotion, which I think for sales and marketing might be the most important P to consider here. This used to be something that was planned years or months or years in advance. Now it's having to be changed dynamically, very frequently. That has to do with both marketing, budget planning, and also trade promotion, so that a dynamic automated process is really necessary. And then finally, for customers, It's just a matter of having what was once few customers. Now you've got many or millions in many cases, where commerce is playing a key role. Now, why is SAP so well positioned to deliver on the digital commerce promise? I think it's because we are uniquely able to unite the front office and the back office here. That's by offering these services in the middle: billing management, order management, revenue growth, pricing. All these services in the middle are able to unite what are traditionally front office capabilities like commerce, customer engagement, and then the back office, financial management, sales and distribution, et cetera. So these capabilities via BTP are able to deliver what we call the composable business platform for CP. And the great thing about this composable business platform is wherever your channels to market are delivering those orders, delivering the front office experience, this doesn't necessarily need to be SAP. So and obviously we have a fantastic commerce capability through SAP Commerce Cloud, but this composable business platform can help unite the front office and the back office, whatever companies might be using, in terms of their CX stack. So I think that's an important thing to realize. And we've got some really fun success stories here around our, specifically our commerce capabilities. I believe India is one of the markets where Nestle has this presence, but there's a fantastic B2B commerce success story that Nestle has been sharing with us around a portal that they created in many markets, dozens of markets for many of their different brands, a headless portal so that you can use Drupal to design as you like, but the portal is able to incorporate much more than transactional commerce. It's able to incorporate things like pricing and promotion, shipment tracking, invoice tracking, to provide and customer service, to provide a full solution in the B2B commerce space in order and solve all those different types of problems that the B2B commerce journey proposes. And here's just a couple of examples of what this looks like on the storefront. So a really fantastic story from Nestle on the B2B commerce side. And I encourage you guys we've got a lot of information on this if you'd like to learn more and drill down there. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of enabling data-driven marketing transformation as part of this digital commerce vision. We're going to be launching a fantastic marketing budget management capability through SAP Analytics Cloud, SAC planning, in the next couple of weeks. This is a great way for customers to manage their marketing and sales budget through SAC in a way that they can have all the information close at hand with real-time transparency to the way those budgets appear in the ERP. I think a really important role, marketing budget planning, I think is going to play a more important role always because of the pressure that these companies are feeling, in the current environment. In addition to that, obviously a single view of the customer through our customer data platform and the ability to engage across different customer touch points, I think is providing a fantastic kind of end-to-end marketing transformation for customers. This is just a diagram of what this looks like. You've got the customer data cloud and customer data platform, which help provide a single view of consumers. Amarsis is our consumer engagement platform for both B2C and B2B engagement with consumers and customers. Married together with this SAC marketing budget planning that I mentioned, really shows can have a tremendous impact on customers' ability to engage with consumers. I think the best example here is with Puma, where they were able to enlarge their consumer database of contactable consumers, and then also drive a much faster, an improved conversion rate with consumers to better to achieve a better return on investment in their marketing spend. So the one last thing I wanted to talk about is sales excellence. I'm sorry that we're so hurried today, but this is an area where we have probably our most established and most compelling offering for our consumer products companies, because we've got such mature offerings in this area, both in our trade promotion management and retail execution. So what is it that makes our customer engagement capabilities so differentiated in this space? Well, one is that we offer a complete solution. That's from analysis to strategy and planning to execution. So we can do trade promotion management, sales and operations planning, as I mentioned, and also retail execution. Almost all our competitors can't do all this, but I think the most important differentiation here is that it's closely integrated with the back office. Trade promotion management is a financial exercise. It's when you make that spend and you are working with your customers, you're having to reconcile those financial investments on an ongoing basis. The closer you can be integrated to the back office, the better. This is not something where you want to get a third party and a complicated, integration built. It's something where you want to have a really native integration. So I think it really helps to tell that story, and I think it's been really compelling for us. This is just a little bit of a deeper dive into the sort of true variety of capabilities that are required for this type of sales planning and execution analysis. And here, I think, is just an example of the customers that we have the trade promotion management solution running, and the types of benefits that they're receiving from this. Again, things like massive reductions in trade promotion spend, increased promotional sales, reduction of distressed inventory. There's so many different benefits that come from trade promotion management just because it's such a huge line item in the cost for these companies. And you can see this extensive group of companies where it's running, and also places where we've had recent launches, even just this past year. So really exciting area for us. I think, to summarize this, whether it's digital commerce, where we've got this fantastic solution based on BTP that unites the front office and the back office and enables customers to achieve that 25% digital commerce revenue goal that they have in the future. Or if you want to talk about trade promotion management and our closely integrated sales side solution set, I think SAP has a really exciting offer to modernize and drive intelligent sales and marketing. We have, of course, additional resources we can share with you guys, our L100 or L200 decks. And with that, I will hand it back to you all to continue. And thank you again for having me. It was really exciting to be on this call, and look forward to any follow-ups.
Thank you so much, Sunny. Just to quickly check before we let you go, if someone has a question for Sunny, because he's based in the US and it's a little late, now would be a good time to probably ask him if there are any questions or comments for Sunny. Otherwise, we'll go to the next item on the agenda, which will be Madhav talking to us about industry cloud solution. I'll just pause for a minute to see if there are any questions. If you have, you can either drop it in the chat, or you can just raise your hand using the reactions button, or just unmute yourself and ask your question. It may not just be a question, it can also be the start of a conversation as well, or a comment as well. Okay, so it looks like everyone is just trying to digest all the information that you've shared, Sunny. If there are any questions that come up subsequently, I will reach out to you, and maybe if you can answer it later on, that will be great as well. So with that, we'll let you go. Thank you so much for staying up late and
Thanks, everyone.
Sharing the content with us.
Thanks again for having me.
Over
Take
to
care.
you, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mukesh. Perfect. I hope just the audio video check. You
Yeah.
can see my screen and hear me. Perfect.
All good.
Yeah. Thank you. What I intend to speak about in the next 10 minutes is a topic that we want to say: how do we innovate and drive sustainable growth with SAP Industry Cloud? In terms of how this will work is in terms of, you've heard a lot about the trends. So I will not talk much about the trends, but I will talk about what would be the response to these trends and how SAP is helping consumer product and FMCG companies. In that context, I'll give you a little bit of an introduction on what Industry Cloud is, and also show you a way of where you can find these solutions and how do we take the conversation ahead. Right. So in terms of trends, and I mean, both Sunny and Sudakshana have talked about this, but what this essentially means is that there is a matter of change, whether we look at it from a cost perspective with inflation and how things are changing. Sudakshana talked about slowdowns and how customer preferences are changing. All of these then lend themselves to imperatives or changes that we need to do as consumer product companies. And all of this, of course, is in a sense a need to respond to the market and the trends that we are going on, that we see. You've also seen this slide before when Sudakshana spoke about, which is how we at SAP give you the core digital foundation, where we're talking about the S/4HANA and the business technology platform. And that helps you set the end-to-end processes and sets the digital backbone or the core on which the entire enterprise operates, which is great and the right thing to do. But we know that there are often two aspects to this. One, the need to innovate or differentiate in the marketplace. There are small changes, innovations that we need to do, whether it be a new digital channel, a new direct to consumer avenue. So these are changes that we need to bring in our businesses to stay competitive. That's one aspect of it. Then the other aspect of it is when you look at the surround applications. What I mean by surround applications, Sunny talked about the trade promotion system or the go-to-market, the distributor management solutions, or there are, and the number of times we as industry practitioners have seen that I wish it was as strong as my SAP backbone. I wish it could integrate better. I wish it had greater functionalities. Now, this is where industry cloud comes in. It delivers leading edge industry relevant applications for consumer products, which will then extend your enterprise. So seamlessly bring in your distributor management, for instance, bring in your business partners into the business and help them integrate better. And the other aspect of it is because it's coming from SAP and it's the SAP Industry Cloud, it is natively pre-integrated back into the ERP. So it's that sense becomes and extends your tech backbone. What you see here as the business technology platform, all of these are built on BTP and therefore, in that sense, native, cloud first, industry ready applications. And that's what, in a sense, industry cloud applications are. We have today more than 300 applications relevant for consumer industries, about 40 from SAP and the rest from partners. Even a partner solution, if it's industry cloud, has been verified, vetted, and guaranteed for integration with SAP, and therefore is one. We know it addresses a relevant white space from a CPG perspective because we've been with consumer product companies, we've been with all of you for the last so many years. So we understand the white spaces, we understand the need. Because it's built on the SAP reference architecture, it integrates back. And finally, it is an industry grade, an SAP grade application. Why would, rather than look at a project specific development and then do the testing and make the integration and going through the entire piece of doing a small custom add-on patch, when you can get ready SAP grade enterprise applications, which can then work directly with your cloud S4 ERP, and these are all native cloud, as I've said. In terms of how this fits into the overall scenario, so each of these areas, what you see in the purple boxes, are some of our industry grade solutions. The wheel that Sunny showed all these solutions are there in that wheel. The point I'm trying to make is that it's part of the SAP family, and therefore it comes as a direct inbuilt applications for each of these. And because it is cloud native and because it's digital, all of them have the AI, the ML capabilities that we're looking for. And rather than and that is what is unique in each of these solutions. Right. A big quick view of the portfolio of what we have. The point I'm trying to make is that there are about a lot of solutions here, but all of these solutions, if you see, are all either validated, endorsed, or are part of SAP solutions, as extensions, or a native SAP solution, and therefore they come with the guarantee of SAP. I'm happy to talk about each of these solutions in a little more detail, but for the purpose of today's conversations, we have about 40 solutions, and all of them work seamlessly with the S/4HANA backbone. What I intend to do also is maybe highlight a few solutions for you in terms of how we looking at these solutions and what is the response or the way we can help. So in terms of the seamless commerce or in the areas of commerce, CPG companies today, we're not going to have, we're going to sell in marketplaces. How do we enable that? There is the entire working between our master data and the marketplaces. How do we bridge the gap? We have solutions there. For example, that's what Miracle does. We have on the website an intelligent search that comes from Covio, which is an AI-led search engine which allows you to bring search and bring relevant information based on who's surfing. From a distributor and a distributor enablement, we have a distributor management solution, which is Newspage. That's on the commerce side. Today, in terms of personalization and pricing and promotions, we have what we call an omni-channel pricing promotion engine, which allows you to run in-store, trade, and online promotions seamlessly. So it's an independent pricing engine which allows you to run multi-channel pricing and promotions. So if you'd say, dear customer, buy online, go to the store and buy something, and maybe pick up something from and send me the packaging, and I'll give you an additional 15% discount. Bringing in all the channels together and to be able to give a customer delight. That's what the omni-channel pricing promotions does. It gives that kind of benefit that it is. MyWave is a solution which allows you to do digital sales channels. So we all know as CPG companies, there are markets we cannot service for multiple reasons. It could be they could be in the hinterland, way deep into tier 3, tier 4 markets, or we don't have coverage from a sales perspective, or it's not. MyWave allows you to do digital sales, opens up a digital sales channel for you. It also helps orchestrate the customer journey and therefore bringing newer markets in this. Using on the stores or on the retail side, we now have a point of sale. We also have an order management system which comes to you from a partner called Data Extreme. So doing the entire e-commerce order orchestration and fulfillment to be able to ensure that the orders get fulfilled in time. We don't have lost orders. And then to bring all of that together and to be able to cater to omni-channel. While omni-channel is a nice thing to speak about, in reality, to be able to cater to the dynamics of omni-channel, which says shifting fulfillment points, for example, doing cost-effective fulfillments, for example, or the other aspect. All of these are what we will be able to help you with the OMS solutions. Back in the back office, we talk about there is from a warehouse perspective, there is a solution which allows you to give a 360 view of the warehouse. It's called Warehouse Insights, to be able to give you an end-to-end view of what is happening in the warehouse. If you want to do automation from an inspection and picking and look at a paperless pick list, or to be able to do a paperless augmented reality based machine inspection, sitting at the head office, you want to look at the machine or the warehouse and see, run an inspection on quality. That is something that can be enabled. It's, while it says augmented reality, it can also work on tablets. So it's in a sense a digital view of automating your warehouse. Balancing inventory across the channel is a problem that we often see. So there is an option which allows you to manage inventories across locations, across channels, and to be able to seamlessly and use a predictive engine which says where you would have excess inventory and how you would proactively move rather than react to a situation where there is excess inventory and you have to firefight. The intern solution allows you to proactively manage that. In the conversations they were mentions on how costs are going up and how we manage inflation. So one of the things about managing inflation is to be able to streamline, for example, the movements. How do we do a replenishment based on from the warehouse to store on a predictive basis? We would say this could, rather than always do a sales backfill saying 4 sold, 4 replaced. How do we do that on a replenishment basis where we do it on a more intelligent model? We say, this is what I think will sell, this is what is needed. So that's what we do with SAP predictive replenishment. To be able to do pricing across the life cycle and not really wait for an end of period markdowns, to be able to do a proactive pricing across the life cycle so that we ensure that we price it right for it to sell. Trade promotions, Sunny also spoke about it. How do we bring that into the frame? So from an ability to execute a promotion and from a perspective of to be able to manage and book the promotion back in a sense that we pass and manage it right. So if there is a rebate that needs to go, if there's a chargeback that needs to be tracked, how do we ensure that the chargeback or the promotion gets effectively worked at and there are no leakages back in our ERP? So that's what we do with our trade promotion challenges. And finally, the sustainability side. We have solutions for EPR ratings. We have solutions. We have a solution which we call for responsible design and production, especially for those of us who are exporting overseas in any of the European countries. This is a requirement that has already enforced there. In India also, we have EPR regulations. So how do we help manage and how do you ensure compliance to EPR? That's what we do with our solution, for responsible design and production. So these are some solutions I thought highlight. These are all solutions that consumer product companies in India are discussing and evaluating with us. And I thought I should take the opportunity to give you a quick summary of what we are doing. Either of these solutions or any of the other solutions that you go on the SAP store. If there's anything that is of interest, I'll be happy to start and engage with you and give you more views on how I can help you. You can either scan the QR code on the screen or just go to store.sap.com and you'd see there are about 45 SAP solutions, about 200 partner solutions that are relevant for you. Anything that is of interest, please reach out to me. Mukesh will have Mukesh will after the wrap up, he will share our coordinates with you. With that, I think Mukesh.
Thank you so much, Madhav, for talking about all these different industry cloud solutions and the SAP solutions. I think what we have seen today is the breadth and depth of functionalities or business processes that can be addressed using either an SAP solution or an SAP partner solution, which is just astounding if you actually ask me. Everything that you can think of that happens in a SAP consumer products world is kind of addressed with that. And one of the important things that we as we go forward is around sustainability. And that's probably what the next topic is going to be about, with Sudakshana talking to us about how we can help or how SAP can help consumer products companies be more sustainable. Before we do that, maybe, just give 30 seconds to see if anyone has any questions or comments for Madhav. Please do drop them on the chat or raise your hand and or unmute yourself and ask a question. While we do that, maybe, Madhav, since you're around, maybe you can answer the questions on the chat directly as and when they pop up as well.
Yes.
So, Sudakshana, over to you for the sustainability topic.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's been a very, very interesting conversation so far. We continue to invest a lot in the purchase journeys or routes to market in the FMCG space. And some of the areas that we are really focused on is looking at really how to optimize revenue growth as FMCG companies become omnichannel themselves. How do we balance the revenue growth? How do we balance that with operational excellence, which translates to servicing these channels and looking at margins? We are also investing a lot in building customer profiles that are truly omnichannel as well. And not only just building the profile, but also managing the consent, because as data and privacy related regulations become stronger, managing the consent across the engagement that we are doing, the communication that we are doing, and the outreach that we are doing with our customers across these channels will become increasingly complex, right? So these are some of the areas of deep focus for us, and we would love to engage with you in driving some of these very strategic conversations forward, right? And of course, industry cloud continues to, as I mentioned in my starting note, that industry cloud is really pushing the innovation agenda forward for us. And we are doing this not in silo as SAP, but we are doing this in collaboration with our partners who bring in their industry specific understanding around some processes which are truly, truly only relevant for these industries, and, along with our customers as well. And sustainability is one such area where some of the solutions that we have ready for you to adopt today have been built together in collaboration with some of our customers, many of whom come from the consumer industry segment. So with that, let me go into my presentation. So, I was doing a bit of research, for today's, in preparation for today's discussion. And when I go through some of the work that are being done by companies, especially in India, I wanted to look at India and not look at the global strategy. And if I look at the key areas of focus for Indian FMCG companies, these actually come across as universal across, irrespective of which company I'm looking at. And sustainability reporting, not just from a BRSR perspective, but in terms of how these companies are operating themselves, has become top of mind for the entire leadership team that runs these companies. So from a strategy perspective, most companies are looking at net zero emissions in their operations, running on more renewables energy, moving to low carbon tech, factory automation, looking at electronic vehicle fleet for fulfillment, adopting biofuel, and eliminating coal, from the energy mix, so to speak. The second big area is recycling and circular economy here, managing returns and preventing them from going into landfills, how to reduce plastic in packaging overall, and also how to recycle the plastic that nevertheless still gets used in packaging to an extent. And also the global regulations becoming stricter around plastic packaging. So, that also becomes another big focus area for companies. And this actually goes into not just from a recycling and circular economy perspective, but also is a big area of focus from a product designing and R&D perspective as well, where not only are we looking at the entire carbon footprint of the products that we are developing or launching or that are already available in the market, but also we're looking at how we can reduce plastic in terms of the usage and packaging material as well. So many of these areas are actually, circular themselves and build into each other. Of course, when we are talking about R&D, product development, we spoke a lot about how companies are innovating, right? And first coming up with digital prototypes and their uptake, even before they are getting into actually piloting the product on the shop floor. That also goes into adopting a sustainable operating strategy, right? Responsible sourcing, of course, continues to emerge in terms of how far can we go back in the value chain to look at the carbon footprint of the material that we have sourced, and how far down the value chain we can go, not just in terms of tracking the carbon footprint of the order fulfillment operations, but also during usage. For example, and I was recently listening to some of the practices of companies such as Tata or Hindustan Lever, who are looking at tea, and when they measure the carbon footprint of tea, the fuel that is used in making the tea actually becomes a huge part of the scope 3 emissions, right? So, this is a complicated subject in terms of how do we bring in more discipline in terms of the data that we are capturing regarding the scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions, both upstream and downstream. And how do we not use averages to measure this, but look at real data, and capturing the data actually becomes then another big area where technology can play a role. Coming to the next point, which is water conservation and stewardship, how much of water recycling can we do, and how much of reduction can we also bring in terms of water wastage. No net loss to biodiversity is another important area. And here, when we look at, and the point that I was making in terms of agricultural origination or going back to the farm gate, here again, this plays a big role in terms of if we are, through our FMCG manufacturing practices, if we have somehow led to loss of biodiversity, or there has been loss of forest cover, then what are we doing to actually bring that back, right? So how are we also ensuring that the loss is set off? I spoke about product responsibility. Also, this brings us to another important element in terms of responsible marketing and communication as well. And in the retail section, in the retail SIG that we had a couple of weeks back, there I was actually talking about in terms of how sustainable story of brands have become, an essential element of communication that are sent out to customers in their consumer journey. And this is applicable for the consumer companies as well. And of course, last but not the least, definitely is human rights, adopting ethical business operating practices, bringing in diversity and inclusion in terms of just not the internal workforce of organizations, but also contributing to diversity and inclusion measures in the communities and societies that companies operate in. So this is the summary in terms of what I found when I looked at what companies are trying to do. And here I just brought in some examples of Indian FMCG leaders who are operating in this space. And if you look at all of them, they are very mature. FMCG industry tends to be very mature when it comes to, all leading industry best practices, whether it is sustainability, consumer engagement, distribution and logistics excellence, right? Even looking at now manufacturing operations as well. And it's interesting to note that, there is a lot of, all the points that I mentioned in the previous slide appear as key focus areas for all of these FMCG leaders, right? And most of these companies are looking at things like TCFD, the Sustainable Development Goals that have the framework that has been built by the United Nations. When they are looking at, deciding on their sustainability strategy and aligning each and every aspect of whether the SDGs or TCFD framework with their overall, company strategy. In this, companies like Unilever, Dabur have been leaders in terms of reducing plastic waste or becoming net plastic waste positive, whereas companies like ITC have been pioneers in terms of running green and sustainable operations, right? So I would really urge you to, if you want to read up more in terms of what are some of the best practices adopted by some of these industry leaders, please do look at their sustainability report, which is now forms a significant part of the annual report and investor communication that these companies put out. Now, just to summarize this, so now when we look at, if we were to summarize all of this into three big pillars, the first becomes zero emissions, the next is zero waste, and the third is zero inequality. In terms of emissions, reducing emissions across the value chain, from production to transportation to last mile delivery, omni-channel deliveries and returns management, store operations management, and assets and buildings, right? From a zero waste circular economy, general waste reduction across operations, making demand and fulfillment more predictable, reducing overstocking, because that itself leads to a significant footprint, ensuring that we have the right products in the right quantity available at the right locations, and keeping sustainability in mind when we are designing and sourcing our products. And so these are again key aspects when we are looking at a zero waste or circular economy. And in terms of equality, planning my workforce and skill mix in such a way that keeps my D&I agenda front and center, right? And this is not just going to help us in becoming more, workforce in terms of workplaces becoming ready for the future, future more equitable workplaces, but also will be able to serve our consumer mix better, because consumers themselves are placing a lot of importance on most of these aspects as they engage with brands. And while they also are becoming more purpose-driven, they also want the brands, the brands that they love, to become more purpose-driven themselves, right? So taking this forward, SAP has a whole suite of solutions that address these three pillars, and we call this the SAP Cloud for Sustainable Enterprises. And what does that mean? So, so this is not just a set of new solutions, but S4HANA itself is being upgraded to ensure that we are able to address most of the requirements that are coming up from a sustainability perspective. So in terms of holistic steering and reporting, we are looking at the Sustainability Control Tower and a lot of other financial reporting metrics, such as which are built into our solution, such as BIS, profitability and performance management, the way we are designing the integrated business planning area, right? So these are again some of the solutions that are now being made capable to address the emerging sustainability needs. From emissions management perspective, we are building a new solution called Sustainability Footprint Management, which is going to be able to track the carbon footprint both up and down the value chain, and the way we run cloud operations, right? As most customers adopt the cloud, are we ensuring that the data center operations are also running sustainably? So these are again some of the new areas. Whereas solutions such as transportation optimization, right? Travel management. So here, SAP Concur now is capable of indicating the carbon footprint of every single business trip that every single employee undertakes, right? So again, that sums up and will give you an idea of what the overall emission for business travel is as well. Treasury and risk management, why we have indicated here is because, here again, a lot of the financing in future is going to depend on the sustainable business practices of companies, right? So how am I managing my overall investment portfolio and my capital, looking at some of these measures? And also, as I mentioned, that a lot of companies are trying to bring in a fleet of electric vehicles as well, to do probably the last mile delivery operations, or increasingly have EVs as part of the, as an integral part of their fleet. So how do I manage those EVs? How do I manage, because these EVs are mostly will be connected digitally. So how do I manage the operations of these vehicles as well, right? So these are some of the areas through which we can manage emissions better. From the zero waste perspective, a lot of investment is happening in terms of building in these capabilities to strengthen the product development process itself, whether it is a responsible design and production solution, enhancing the product compliance capabilities within S/4HANA, EHS capabilities of S/4HANA, the sourcing that we are doing directly from farm gate, cutting down middlemen, which will again help reduce carbon footprint, material traceability, right, going down to the source from where the material has been sourced from, and what are some of the farming practices that have been adopted while sourcing this material. So these are again some of the important areas. How am I managing my waste, my recycling, how am I managing the returnable packaging, and just building a lot of data and intelligence into the returns process itself, right? So these are again some of the solutions that addresses the pillar of zero waste. From a zero inequality perspective, the EHS solution manages things like workplace safety, occupational health. We are building in the supplier risk as far as the ESG due diligence practices are concerned within Ariba itself, right? And the work clearance management solution, again, these are solutions that have been part of SAP portfolio for a long time, right? But here it is just to indicate how they also contribute to the three biggest pillars of sustainability, which is zero emission, zero waste, and zero inequality. So these are the primary messages that I wanted to leave you with today. I do have some more content, which I will cover very quickly, but please note that these are actually deeper areas. And depending on your interest, we can actually have subsequent SIG meetings that are focused on just some of these themes. For example, how do we generate material traceability across and measure product footprint across the value chain? Like we have two solutions which are organically developed by SAP, which is the material traceability option of the logistics business network solution, and the SAP product footprint managed solution, which is the new solution. And Green Token by SAP again actually takes all of this back and brings in a complete network view to this, by looking at the logistics modes that we are using, and being able to track and measure this carbon footprint at a much more granular and deeper level. That is just to give you an overview of some of this. Material traceability continues to be a very, very important metric in this industry, where we just don't look at, the factory or the batch number and the shop floor where it was manufactured, but go down into a complex sourcing network, right? For which we need the data sharing to enable data sharing across this entire supply network to gain an end-to-end visibility into the provenance of the product, right? So an alerting mechanism to alert supply chain partners if there are any product issues, right? This is especially important from a quality perspective if you need to do any recall, right? And quality is not just within my enterprise premises, but also now it is going down back into the value chain. And how can we leverage blockchain technology across this entire value chain to drive provenance of products? So these are some of the essential aspects of the material traceability solution. And here is just an example, of a customer who is, again, a leading FMCG player based out of South Africa. They source and sell tinned tuna, right? And just by scanning a code that is available on the on the can, the customers would be able to really go in and see the provenance of the fish, and what are the practices, what is the species, is this fair trade compliant, what is the entire carbon footprint that the fish made, from the location that it was caught in to the retail store from where I as a consumer am buying buying it? What can I do as a consumer to set up some of this carbon footprint? And, and just in the spirit of building some community around this, some interesting recipes, right, that can be shared with the consumer as well. So again, this is just an example of the art of the possible, perhaps, that we can, that is possible with some of these technology elements that are available today, right? So this is an example of the product footprint management. This is, again, this requires a detailed discussion, but it is just to show that calculating the footprint requires data acquisition from, first of all, many different sources, which can be external. So APIs would be required to capture this data coming from S/4HANA, through the material flows, product costing, EHS, emissions tracking, through the business network, right, where we are looking at the logistics business network or the vendor related data. Then I'm looking at the different types of emission factors and looking at the emission factor data. And then I'm leveraging all of this to calculate the product footprint, and driving some analytics around it, right? So it is an end-to-end view, and it requires a lot of data pulled in from many different sources to actually be able to calculate the product footprint of any of your product, and then going down the value stream, which is when your consumers are using it, then what is the footprint that is being left behind? But Sustainability Control Tower is the most mature solution that we have available today, which looks at the World Economic Forum measures, TCFD measures, GRI measures, SDG measures. So these are some of the standard semantic frameworks for which reports have already been built into the solution, right? So, you can just bring in the data, the ESG records, the factors are already built into the solution, right? So your reports can be automated and streamlined to a significant extent. And also the tool will generate insights that will help you further drive sustainability related improvements and enhancements in your business. Right. So this is one area. As I mentioned, this is fairly holistic, right, in terms of the kind of insights that are being provided. And a lot of these capabilities can actually be enhanced with the SAP BTP solution capabilities, such as SAP Analytics Cloud, where it can be plugged into areas such as, your integrated business planning, right, our annual operating plans. So some of these measures can actually be built into your collaborative planning process, your supply chain planning process. You can store all of this data in a data warehouse in the cloud and drive this to drive, say, for example, your sourcing strategies, or drive further efficiencies in terms of what are the areas of manufacturing automation that you should look at, or how can you further optimize energy usage, looking at the usage data, historical usage data, identified bottlenecks, identified leakages, or also even look at the waste generation that is happening in the not only in the manufacturing operation, but also down in the logistics operation. And and drive some process changes from these insights, right? So that is what we mean in terms of steering and reporting. So these are not just reports that we are creating to drive compliance to BRSR, but also to really steer the business and run it in more sustainable fashion. Right. And this, I mentioned that, this is how we can broaden the impact of the ESG projects. And I was mentioning, this is a solution that has been developed in partnership with a lot of our customers. Many of them are in this area of consumer industries, such as, Coca-Cola, such as Doler, right. And we would love for some of you to become our co-innovation partners in this journey as well. Right. So, with that, I just, just wanted to leave you with the final solution, which is something that we announced in Sapphire 2023, where in addition to the general ledger, we are also building in something called the green ledger, right, which is going to draw data from the sustainability footprint management solution. And it also will provide a sustainability data exchange, because we understand that the sustainability data will have multiple sources, right? So, so the green ledger will work seamlessly with S/4HANA, with the S/4HANA ERP to to do an end-to-end carbon accounting. This is definitely something which is going to be available to our customers, in the near future. And of course, the sustainability control tower will continue to provide the end-to-end visibility into the sustainability measures and metrics, right? So with that, I wanted to. So the other thing which I wanted to also share, and Madhav actually mentioned the names of some of these startups that we are partnering with. So SAP.io is SAP's program where we nurture startups who are building game-changing solutions in different spaces. So like I mentioned, we are also working with a lot of startup companies who are, again, working in the sustainability space to address a lot of the, evolving and emerging sustainability-related requirements. But like I said, this is a very involved topic. I've already taken 30 minutes. So I just wanted to stop here. And depending on your interest, we can organize a much more deeper discussion on some of these topics. Yeah, back to you, Mukesh.
Thank you so much, Sudakshana. I think sustainability, as everyone says, right? So it is super important for all of us, and also kind of in the longer term, I think super critical for all everybody on the planet itself. And as organizations, I think we can play a significant role from that point of view. So now there are two parts to the agenda that is left right now. So one is about customer experience sharing, which is a conversation that I have as a round table kind of a conversation. And I also have a quick demo of the platform that we are going to use going forward for all INDUS special interest groups. So maybe let me take 5 minutes to kind of take you through the platform. And once we are done with that, then probably we can have a conversation around what each one of you is actually looking at and have a conversation around that. So maybe let me just quickly share my screen. So let me know if someone can let me know if you can share, if you can see my screen. Can someone let me know? Can you see my screen?
Yes, Mukesh, I can see your
Okay,
screen.
super. So INDUS is, as a community, one of the things that we've been trying to do is to create a forum where customers actually can come together and interact and connect and network and learn. So one of the things in the past we've been using was WhatsApp. Unfortunately, with WhatsApp, there are a few limitations in terms of what you can do and what you cannot do. You cannot have documents. You cannot have the ability to look at what has happened in the past. You can only look at documents and links after you've joined a particular group, and of course very public, and you do not have any control over what gets shared and things like that. So what we have done is we've signed up with a online platform. This is also available as a mobile app if you want to download. At the end of the session today, or later today, you will get an invitation for you to join this platform. So it's pretty straightforward in order to use. When you log in, you will you can join the consumer products group SIG, and you will come to the feed just like any other social platform. You have the ability to ask poll. You can share content. About you can tag them. For example, you can tag them with hashtags. You can share links. You can share videos. You can ask questions. So, for example, if I want to ask a question, I can just simply say, okay, ask a question. Let's say, what was one thing that you learned today that you did not know before? Today in the PPG meeting that you did not know before. So we can say, we can tag it as a case study. Or a question, sorry, and post it. And anyone who's part of this group can actually answer this question You can, if you find members, once you join, you can actually chat with members. You can find members who are near you. You can find members who are new. You can find hosts. You can find people who are online right now. So for every special interest groups that we have, we will be creating one of these groups. So you can join those groups and kind of have a conversation, share insights. We will be sharing documents. We will be sharing recordings. We will be sharing thought leadership content here, so that everything relevant to this particular topic is in one place for you to kind of look at. So, for example, you can just simply answer the question. You can not yet, whatever. So you can look at. You can comment on this, just like any other social platform. There are ability for you to kind of share GIFs, like, comment, vote, everything. So just a quick and short preview of the platform that we are trying to drive. So I will just stop there, and you will get an invite later today. So if you've used your official email ID, and if you've not used your official ID, and if you've used your Yahoo or Gmail ID, I will request you to kind of share your official ID with me, and I can then invite you to the official email ID. With that, we come to the conversation part of it. So can I invite maybe Sandeep ji, if I can invite you to share what's top of mind for your organization? Is there any particular project that you are running right now that you would like to talk about? If there is any question that you would like to share. Anyone for that matter. I mean, I'm inviting Sandeep because I think he's already had they hosted a event in SAP in their office, and they shared about what they're doing. So maybe not many of the people here were as part of that conversation. So if you want to share something from that event, that will be good as well. Anyone would like to talk about what you're running in your organization? You heard so much today. Is there anything that you found out today that you did not know earlier? Let's start with that. So did you find or learn something completely new today that you did not know when you joined this call? Anyone? So one of the things that INDUS as a user group is all about is to make new connections and have a conversation with other customers who are part of the same community. So I think it is important not just to hear what everyone else has got to say, but also to kind of share what you are doing and have a conversation. So I would like to invite anyone to kind of share your perspective. I can start maybe. I did not know that there were more than 240 plus solutions that were available by partners for the consumer products industry, and even 40 plus industry cloud solutions. So that was something which is very new to me, and I work for SAP. And I've had multiple industry cloud presentations done as LinkedIn Live. So while being so connected and linked into the system, I still did not know that there were 40 plus industry cloud solutions. Anyone else? Folks, if there is not going to be a conversation, that's okay as well. I'll just wait for a couple of minutes, because the plan is to have a conversation, each one of you talking to me, talking to each other about what you're doing in your organization. Anyone here who's live on S4HANA would like to share, on the chat maybe? Yes, no, maybe. Anyone who is using trade promotion management? Yes, no, maybe. Okay. So It's okay even if there are no subsequent conversations from that point of view. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you in the next call in the next 3 months from now for the CPG Special Interest Group. For that, I'd like to thank you for your time today. I hope that the session was useful and you did learn something new. And until next time, thank you so much and talk to you soon. Bye-bye. I'll stay on for a couple of minutes if someone wants to have a conversation with me. Otherwise, you can, I'd like to give you back 30 minutes or so. Thank you so much.